What are some non medical birth control options? How do I track my fertility? I'm pretty young. Why does this even matter? How would I even get started? Answers to these questions and more in today's video. Hi, my name's Leslie, and welcome back to my channel. This is where I share my thoughts on life, learning, and the love of Christ. Before we dive in, please go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, and share. Knowledge is power, so let's help to empower other women by sharing this valuable information. Today, I wrap up what I've learned from my research on and experience with different birth control methods. Today, we will be diving in specifically into barrier methods as well as natural methods. To see the other videos in the series, I will go ahead and link the playlist over here. Barrier birth control methods are methods that have to be used every time you engage in intercourse. So this includes condoms, diaphragms, the sponge. Now, risks in my own research and my own experience with this is that you can get an allergic reaction from these foreign objects coming into your body, but specifically the diaphragm, the cap, and the sponge may cause toxic shock syndrome. Tampons also cause toxic shock syndrome, as does the NuvaRing. So for more details on what toxic shock syndrome is, go ahead and hit the link of the video over here. At about 5 minutes, I go ahead and go in depth on TSS. Now, natural birth control methods. This is where I want to spend the majority of our time today because I feel like this is where there's a lot more questions and a lot more unknown. Fertility awareness methods, you can track your temperature. You could check your cervical mucus. You could track your period on a calendar. But really the most effective method is a combination of all three, and that's known as the symptothermal method. Now, I myself, in my own experience, I've used the temperature tracking method, I've used the calendar method, and now I am using the symptothermal method. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about my own experience using these for myself. So to start off, the temperature tracking method. This is what I started with when I started natural family planning. I started tracking my temperature every single morning with a special barometer. I purchased the Natural Cycles app on my phone for $80 a year. I was able to get a thermometer sent to my house. Every morning, I would not even get out of bed. I'd take my temperature, plug it into my phone, and after a couple months, it built up enough data that it would tell me whether days were green or red. Now, if you're trying to prevent pregnancy, green days are days where you can have unprotected sex. Red days are days where you are fertile and should not have unprotected sex. This is the way the app works. So it was very easy. You plugged in your temperature and you'd get a color, either red or green. And that kind of told you how to proceed with the day. If you had intercourse, you could go ahead and just plug that in there. When your period started, you just would go ahead and tell them that day your period started. And literally after like a month or two, it really just knew my system, and I just went by the app. Now, when I did get pregnant, the app is actually also what told me that I should take a pregnancy test, because I was taking my temperature. My period was a couple days late, and it very quickly could just tell from my temperature tracking and knowing my cycle for over a year of information that I was already in there. It told me, you're most likely pregnant. You should take a test. And so I highly recommend the temperature tracking method for an easy and accurate way to manage your own birth control. I was able to know to the day that my child was conceived. And so that really helped because I knew that my estimated delivery day was accurate. So when 38 weeks came, I knew, I was like, this is the beginning. Like, my child could come today. And lo and behold, my son actually did come right at 38 weeks, but he came the first day he could have came. And I knew that because of my temperature tracking app. And then when I was pregnant, it actually gave me great little updates. Like, it'd tell me, like, this is how big your child is, and it would ask you could plug in your weight, and it would tell you, like, okay, that's a healthy weight for where you are in your pregnancy, et cetera, et cetera. It was really helpful. I liked it. And then I also used after the baby, I started using the calendar method, where I would just track for myself my menstrual cycle. There's actually videos on how to do this, so I will go ahead and link one of those in the description box so that if you are interested in kind of just trying that out for yourself, you can. Now, what I like about the temperature tracking is that it literally tells you to date what your the length of your period, because your period can range. My menstrual cycle is 26 days given one day on either end. So it's either 25 or 28. And that is insane that I know that, but it literally would tell me like this is how long your luteal phase is. It goes very in depth as you want it to, if you want to know more. But I highly recommend it. It's inexpensive, way cheaper than any medical birth control option out there. And it's super easy to do. And you know what? If you miss a day, it's not like the pill where you have to make up for it. It's just like, okay, so today's going to be a red day. Moving on. It's not like you've messed up your whole month. When you miss your pill for a couple days, you've messed up your whole month. I guess the only con that people would say is that it does take time for it to learn your body from the tracking of the temperature. So you do need to have some accuracy and some diligence in inputting the data at the beginning. But that's the same with the pill, and that's the same with all the other methods. I mean, you have to remember when to take it. You have to remember when to put it in, when to take it out. I mean, and it takes time for it to kick in, right? Like every medical birth control, it says it doesn't just work instantly. Like you do have to give it time for it to work, at least one period cycle, for you to actually be protected against potentially ending up with an unwanted pregnancy. So I will say that with the symptothermal method, the combination of the three, I've just started, and I will share later the book that I'm using to kind of read about how to use this method. I love it because I feel like I understand what's going on with my body way better. So it's nice to not just have an app to tell me, but I know what's going on with my body on any given day, and I know when I'm feeling a certain way. It also helps me with just like figuring out what I'm eating, what I'm choosing to eat based on the fact that I'm like, okay, I'm coming around my period, I tend to get bloated. I start to have all these cravings. I don't know. Everyone's different, but I crave chocolate around that kind of time. I'm not a big chocolate lover, and around that time I really crave chocolate. So there's all that. Then lactation. So lactation as birth control. Now I would just say so let me explain what people mean by this. So when you exclusively breastfeed, that is that you breastfeed your baby every 4 hours during the day and every 6 hours at night, and you feed him only with breast milk, your body stops ovulating naturally most of the time. I say most of the time because this isn't the case for everybody. This is not always. You can be breastfeeding and still end up getting your period. But if you are not ovulating and you aren't getting your period, then you can't get pregnant. Because you're not ovulating. And so normally the 40 days after you've had a baby, you don't have anything. But then after that, you can get your period. If you do get your period, then lactation as birth control isn't going to work for you because you are ovulating. But if you aren't getting your period, if you see that like a couple months go by, you see a month go by, you still haven't gotten your period, you're most likely, and you're breastfeeding, you're most likely can use lactation as a birth control method. Again, you will know this by if you have your period or if you don't, and how frequently you are feeding your baby. I myself used this method. It worked for 3 months, and then I started getting my period. So then I started getting my period regularly. So there was that. Abstinence. Now, I've also tried this method. I was abstinent for over a year. The Lord helped me through. I will go ahead and link my testimony video here, and you guys can hear a little bit more about that story if you're interested. But again, these are all natural birth control methods. Now, this is a quote from a doctor who teaches at UC Davis, and I just want to take a moment to read this to you. I know normally I don't read these to you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and read this one because it was very impactful to me. There is another way besides chemical contraceptives, devices, and sterilization. Fertility awareness is a beautiful way that allows a woman to feel her cycles as she wanes or waxes while also preventing pregnancy. This fundamental knowledge of a woman's fertility and infertility should be taught to every menstruating girl and woman. It is our birthright. These are the operating instructions of our female body that somehow got thrown out along the way. Fertility awareness includes natural birth control, knowing your cyclical body, your menstrual cycle, your reproductive health, and your fertility and infertility. To know how to prevent pregnancy naturally or to consciously know how you can become pregnant is the most profound and empowering knowledge a woman can learn. There are only 5 days a month a woman can become pregnant, yet we medicate our bodies 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is like medicating our body every day to prevent a monthly headache. When they spoke about fertility methods, this really impacted me. Y'all, we're being told to medicate ourselves every single day to prevent pregnancy when there's only 5 days out of the month that we can actually get pregnant. How empowering would it be to know what those 5 days are? Not have to worry about these risks we've been talking about for weeks. Not have to worry about toxic shock syndrome. Not have to worry about an ectopic pregnancy. Not have to worry about using abortifacient birth control because it's against your religious beliefs. Not have to worry about any of that. If you used a natural family planning method, if you were aware of your fertility, you would know which 5 days were just required either using a barrier method or required just abstaining. 5 days, people. I think we can wait 5 days. And so there's that. Because why? Why are we medicating ourselves like we're sick every single day of the year for something that can only happen 5 days of the month? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's not reasonable. And it's ridiculous that this is what science, modern day science, tells us we have to do as women. I just think that maybe instead of worrying about giving more government money to Planned Parenthood because the birth control doesn't work and then you end up with an unwanted pregnancy and then they tell you should get an abortion, and we have all these people getting pregnant who don't want to be pregnant or shouldn't be pregnant or whatever it is. All these people who society says shouldn't be pregnant, shouldn't have kids, or don't want kids, or didn't plan for this. Maybe we wouldn't be facing so much need and argument over Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics if we educated our girls on fertility. If we educated them on how their body actually works. If health class was not just telling you about the pill and about the patch and about the IUD, but if they actually sat down and said, let me teach you, you're hitting puberty, let's start talking to you about how your body works. Let's start talking to you about how your reproductive system works and how you can keep track of it and how you can know how your body operates. Y'all, we're in the 21st century. This is ridiculous. We should be educated. This stuff is available to us, but somehow the instructions on how our fertility works got thrown out the window. We need to empower ourselves by knowing how our body works, whether you want to get pregnant or not. How empowering would it be to know that you had the control to do it without having to pay any pharmaceutical company hundreds of dollars, probably thousands of dollars by the time that you actually end up getting off of it because you're actually ready for it. How many abortions could have been prevented? I just think that's what it really makes me think about. Speaking of, we're going to talk a little bit about the American history of birth control. Okay, 1870s, the birth control movement began. 70 years later, when the church, the Protestant church, stopped opposing it, when they were finally accepting it, that's when it was allowed into the United States. And then, not even 30 years later, the church starts accepting abortion for medical reasons. And then 12 years after that, abortion is legalized. And then 10 years after that, we've even got some churches signing on to agree that abortion is okay as a birth control method. Do you see how we went from, we're just allowing birth control for, people in committed relationships to be able to, be aware of their fertility and choose when they want to start families, to now promoting abortion as a birth control method. There are people using abortion as a birth control method. 60 million babies have been killed by abortions. That is almost 6 times the amount of people that were killed in the Holocaust. Just sit with that for some time, because this is our history. And if we don't pay attention to it, we're doomed to repeat it. If we continue to allow culture and society to tell us what we should accept, what started off when you give an inch is they take a whole foothold. The church started off with accepting birth control, saying historically is actually the reason the Protestant church accepted it is because they said, yeah, married couples should be able to, plan for their families. Plan for when the right time is for married couples to use this. Look at where we've gotten to now. We're telling 12-year-old girls they should be on the pill. It's disgusting. It really is. It's sick. It's sick how far we've gone. And if that's too deep for y'all, let's just look at costs, okay? This is least expensive to most expensive. Just take a look. And here, these numbers of risks, this is not all comprehensive. This is just based off of the bullets that I included on the slides that I've been sharing over the past month. But, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Most definitely the least expensive option is the natural method. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about anything really. It's very inexpensive. Very, very inexpensive. And if you get in with Natural Cycles, they'll actually send you the thermometer for free. So you don't even have to pay for the $25 for the thermometer. You pay $80 and you get the thermometer and the app for a year. So there's that. Okay. So with all this information that I've been sharing, what are my recommendations? Well, I recommend you speak to your doctor. Speak to your doctor based off of this series, based off the videos that you've seen. Talk to your doctor. What are your options? Do you want to start looking at natural family planning options? Would you like to talk to somebody about who can show you further? Maybe your PCP or your OBGYN can connect you to somebody. There are doctors out there who know how to do this and can teach this. If you would like to take an online class, Kiara Blazer at aheavenlywelcome.com. I've recommended her before for her online childbirth education class, but I have not personally taken her fertility class, but I have bought other things of hers, other trainings that she's done, and I trust that whatever product she puts out is good. So if you want more information on understanding your fertility, she's got that online course. Taking Charge of Your Fertility is the book that I'm using, that I'm reading to take charge of my fertility, to use the symptothermal method. And so it's very helpful, and it comes with some online templates and things like that. So those are methods that I recommend. And then we will, of course, as always, I say pray and read, right? Seek God, who will reveal to you what he has for you. So, as always, we end with the word because he is the beginning and the end, right? And so, in Matthew 18, the Lord says, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. There's a lot for us to learn from children. I really think that today's society really talks to us about resenting them, regretting having had them, or ending up pregnant, rejecting them, through decisions like abortion. But really, there is a lot to learn from children about how we come before the Lord. There is a lot to learn. I mean, I've shared my monthly update videos about all I've learned from motherhood in just the short 7 months that I've been a mom. And my husband asked me recently, he said, what's your favorite thing about being a mom? And I said to him, how my son teaches me to be before the Lord. My son teaches me so much about God. He teaches me so much about how to come before the Lord humbly, in need, how to lean on and depend and trust my Father, who is in heaven. And not a better teacher. There's so much for me to learn from him, and I'm so looking forward to everything else he's going to teach me. Yes, parents teach their kids too, but I myself, I'm enjoying everything that I'm learning from my son. And it's biblical. The Lord says, whoever shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. No better way of knowing what it really is to be humble than to have your own kid, have your own child. And this leads perfectly right into my next series that I want to tell you guys about. So, the devil is a liar. I have talked about this. This was all a part of this series called The Attack on Eve and Her Seed. So I just want to bring this all back full circle so we have the connection, okay? The attack on Eve and her seed. The devil is a liar. We've established that, right? But he came, this is how he came to lie. This is why he attacks women. Why does he attack women? Because we, after God, are able to carry life. We carry and bear and give birth to image-bearing souls, souls that bear the image of God. The devil hates God, and he hates us because we bear God's image. And for that reason, and that principal reason, that is why he comes for women. That is why he comes for women. That is why he comes for children, because women have the ability to give life, to bring new life into the world, new life that was created to glorify God, to worship the Lord. The devil wants nothing more than for us to die. And so this is why he comes so hard for women. He has actually now twisted our thinking in today's society that we should consider what God meant for us as a blessing a curse. And I spoke about that in my first video. I will go ahead and link that here if you have not seen it. But I want to bring this full circle. Guys, I want to bring this full circle because the Lord has said that we are blessed. And I'm just saying, we're not just blessed with reproduction. I want to say that because I know that some people will be like, Leslie, what are you saying? Like, I don't have children. Are you saying that I'm worthless? Are you saying that I'm not blessed? No, that's not what I'm saying. Please stop. That's not what I'm saying. There is way more here about the blessing that the Lord included, but it is part of the blessing. Part of the blessing is that we should multiply and we should replenish the earth. Part of the blessing is that we are fruitful. But fruitful does not just mean in your womb, does not just mean bearing children. Fruitful means in what you bring into the kingdom. It's the fruit of the Spirit that you bear: love, patience, long-suffering, faith. All of these things, these are ways that we can be fruitful in this world. But let's not get it twisted. Let's not let the devil lie to us and tell us that our fertility is something that we should see as a curse, because it's actually a blessing. I want us to get back to Genesis 1. I want us to walk in Genesis 1 because this is before the curse. This is what God has called us to be. This is what Jesus came and died for, to restore us to before the fall, to restore us to how God had intended in the beginning. It says that every single day when he was done, he called it good, and it was so. And so that's what we want to be restored to, right? So the Bible has a lot to say about blessings. And so this new series coming, starting soon. Wow, I just realized I wrote this: new series coming, starting soon. It doesn't matter. New series starting soon. Blessed women of the Bible. We will be talking about Mary, Elizabeth, Sarah, Hannah, Anna the prophetess, all of them, Deborah, all of them. If you have any ideas on women that I should cover, go ahead and comment below. I will go ahead and take a look at those. If there is somebody I didn't mention and you think I should make sure I include in that next series, I hope that you all tune in. I know this is a longer video than usual, but thank you for sticking around. And just to close us out, as always, test everything I said against the Word and the Spirit. You have learned something in this video today. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's get this word out there so people know how they can equip themselves with the knowledge to make the best decisions for their own bodies instead of just listening to what society tells them to do. As always, I encourage you to go deeper into your own relationship with Christ. Pursue him because he is pursuing you. Keeping you all in prayer until the next one. Bye.